Once the decision is made to harvest, the netting is removed, and the busiest time of the year begins. There are two harvesting methods we use to pick our grapes. One method is by hand. Certain lots of grapes are hand harvested for reserve wines such as our Vintners Select Riesling and Merlot. These grapes are hand selected, then carted off by tractor in these small yellow containers called lugs. The hand harvest is then transferred to these large blue bins and sent back to the winery for pressing. We are rewarded for this labor-intensive approach by the creation of our best-tasting wines. Our other method is with a machine harvester that can harvest 1.5 acres of grapes in an hour. The harvester allows us to pick a lot of grapes at a short notice. The decision to harvest is often done quickly due to sudden extreme changes in the weather. Harvest time generally begins in September, but the majority takes place in late October, and during some years, early November. The last to be picked is our specialty, the Vidal Ice Wine. We let our Vidal grapes hang on the vines until they are hit by at least 3 hard frosts. The grapes are then pressed frozen, and only the richest nectars and flavors are released. The yield of juice is only 1/3 of the normal grape, and the results are delectable. After the grapes are collected from the vines, we bring them back to the winery. Inside this pneumatic press is a large airbag that is connected to a compressor. The air inflates the bag to squeeze the juice from the grapes. The grapes are gently pressed to release the rich sweetness of the juice. The press time will last up to 2 hours when the juice is transferred into our large fermentation tanks. Once the grapes are destemmed, they go directly to fermentation with the skins. The skins are what give the red wine its red color. The skins will stay in contact with the wine for up to 2 weeks to extract the color, aroma, and flavor. Red wines are fermented at temperatures from 75 to 90 degrees. This temperature helps with the extraction of color and flavor. Once we're happy with the flavor, we transfer what we call the red wine must back into the press for one last squeeze. At this point, the skins are separated from the juice, and the wine moves on to be aged in our oak barrels. We age our wine in French oak barrels to create complex aromas and flavors in our wines. White wines, like our Chardonnay, will stay in the barrels for 8 to 10 months. Reds will remain in the barrels from 6 months up to 2 years. To turn grape juice into wine, we add winemaker's yeast. The yeast eats the sugar in the juice and in turn creates alcohol and carbon dioxide.
We'll monitor the quality of the wine from the moment we press until the time we bottle. We also note the flavor profiles of each of our wines during the fermentation period. We'll use this information in future years to maintain consistency within our wines.
This machine can bottle 130 cases per hour and is the final step in the winemaking process. The bottles are loaded by the case at the far end of the line. The first section is the rinser that removes any impurities from the bottles. Then the bottles are sparged with nitrogen to remove oxygen from the bottles. Shuttling along, the next section is where the bottles are filled. Today, it's our Cabernet Sauvignon. The full bottles then cycle through a probe. The probe will actually sip the excess wine off the top, dropping the wine to the proper level. Once the bottle is full, there are two methods for sealing the bottle. The first option is with a traditional cork. Our vacuum corker can use both natural and synthetic corks.
We are currently bottling nearly all of our wine with the best closure of all, the Stelvin screw cap. Flavors are better preserved, so our wine will be fresh and bright when they're open. Recent studies have found that both red and white wine age better with screw caps than natural corks. Screw caps are also resealable, and they're made out of aluminum so they can be recycled. So you can see it was an easy decision for us to transition into screw caps.
The last section of the bottling line brings us through the foiling and labeling mechanisms. The foil is dropped onto the top of the bottle and sealed to ensure freshness. The bottles are then completed with the final touch, a Newport Vineyards label. After what could be up to 2 years for some wines, they finally are boxed up and shipped to our many wholesalers. In all, Newport Vineyards produces over 20 different wines and up to 20,000 cases a year. We strongly believe that wine should be fun and unpretentious, and that everyone's taste is different. Our goal is to be sure that you leave here today falling in love with at least one of our fine varieties of wine. Thank you for visiting Newport Vineyards.